Hello ladies and gentlemen and everything in between, and welcome to a Treblechin Entertainment video review. I'm Davey, and today I'm going to talk about Spotlight. Spotlight is a new-ish movie that came out a few weeks ago. It's a biopic about the journalists in Boston who uncovered the story of the pedophile priests in the Catholic Church. It stars Michael Keaton and Mark Ruffalo, and it is some powerful stuff. See what I thought. The story that Spotlight tries to tell is kind of a somber one. It's not an easy story to think about, especially if you are a current or former member of the Catholic Church. It hits a little bit of a sore spot. But the way it's shown and the way the movie tells the story is the most tasteful way that the story can be told, because it doesn't tell it from the point of view of the families. It shows it from the point of view of these investigative journalists at the Boston Globe, who kind of do more in-depth investigation over long periods of time. And once they catch wind of the unsavory things that have been happening with priests in the Catholic Church, they don't really want to do it, because in Boston, the Catholic Church kind of owns the city. Like, they own the whole, like, the culture of the city, because Boston is predominantly Italian and Irish people, which they are big, hardcore Catholics. And they take the church very, very seriously. So the journalists don't want to take this story, but once they kind of catch wind of how deep it goes, they do it on the down low so as to not disturb the public, but they really, really want to get to the bottom of this, because they believe deep down in their souls that no one should get away with things like this, no matter what their position and no matter how high up they are. And the way it tells the story, especially using the phenomenal cast of Michael Keaton and Mark Ruffalo, is just phenomenal. Because Michael Keaton is kind of a guy that can keep his composure. But the way you can kind of see behind him, like, how it's tearing up at him, because all of these journalists were Catholic or former Catholics, so this kind of hit a little bit hard for them, especially because they thought about, what if it happened to me? And you can kind of see the way the story kind of tears at the inside of Michael Keaton's character, because he keeps his composure, and he tries his best to, like, be the level-headed journalist of the group, but you can see it eat away underneath that, which is hard for an actor to do. You can, like, they're trying to keep it 100, but but you can see it eating away in their psyche, which is really well done from the performance of Michael Keaton. And Mark Ruffalo is kind of a more socially awkward character who is trying to, like, have his big story at the paper. And the drive of this guy is just so well presented. And I really like this movie for a few different reasons. It tells the story in a very, very tasteful manner, because it's telling the story so far away from the victims that it's focusing on that they don't have to show the act or even imply the act, because they just give the act to you from like the story that the victims tell years afterwards. And that's kind of the best way to tell a story like this, because when you're telling a story about something so terrible that happened, it's best to kind of keep it behind the closed door, because it's a very, very private matter, and it's very, like, you can kind of see how a filmmaker would want to get the gritty edge of it. And there are a lot of situations where I kind of would like to, like, there are a lot of types of stories where you want that like down and dirty kind of gritty look at the truth of what happened, but a situation like this is just so much better told from behind closed doors. And the way it's told from the point of view of the victims is really, really well done, especially the way the journalists interview them, because, like, you get several different points of view. Like, we get to see a kid who kind of grew up as kind of a more masculine guy, a guy that grew up and that was gay at the time, and knew that he was gay at the time, and he was Catholic at the time. And you hear the way he says, like, why he didn't fight back at the time, because it's a kid in church talking to a priest, so it's like, how do you say no to God? That kind of mentality. But you also, like, hear how this priest was the first person that told him that it was okay to be gay. And it's a very difficult thing to see, like, how emotionally scarring that must have been for that person. Like, having that traumatic experience happen at the same time that something that you've been waiting for your whole life comes to fruition, it must have just been terrible. And it's very, very well presented in the movie. Like, the movie tells the story from a tasteful way, but it still tugs at your heartstrings and hits you hard where it needs to hit you hard. And that's really, really hard to do. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect going into this movie, and, like, I just knew that it was about journalism, and that it starred Michael Keaton and Mark Ruffalo, and sort of what it was about, but I wasn't sure how heavy it was going to be. And it is very, very heavy without giving you the outright picture. And I think that is the best way to tell this kind of story. I really, really enjoyed this movie, but it's hard for me to recommend it to everyone, because it is kind of hefty, and it can be kind of a sore spot if you were like in the Catholic Church at the time when this was happening, if you were a current member of the Catholic Church, or if you left the Catholic Church because of this. It's a sore spot for a lot of people, but it's a story that really, really needs to be told, and I think this movie just nails it. It nails it to a T, and I love it so much. I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 6, a stellar rating. And I think you should go see it if you don't think it's gonna, like, hit you too hard. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Let me know what you thought of Spotlight if you've seen it, and let me know what you thought of my review if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. You can leave good stuff, bad stuff, like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I've been Davey, and take it easy.